morning, everybody. Welcome to Friday mornings. It's coffee and conversation. Now, for those of you that are normally here, it's usually just me, but we have special guest, Rebeckah Hassam, who is, I'm going to let her tell her story, but I'm going to tell you how much she inspires me because every day I think about how much she's accomplished and how much success she's had in her life, but also all of the journey that she's overcome to create that success and manifest that success and attract that success. And honestly, will it into being. So I know she's amazing. And I get to be in one of her books. I'm just saying. I have to read the book to be like, oh, I probably was a hard ass. And yay. She's laughing, but she knows it's true. So good morning, Alex. Thank you for being here. For all those of you who are watching on Facebook, if you want to join the conversation, ask questions, share your insight with us, please join us on YouTube, The Journey with Jen Snow, because that's where we can see your comments and your conversation. So, hello, Stone. Good morning. So, Rebeckah, tell us about you. How did you become such an amazing person, and how did you become an author? I mean, I'm still struggling to get that book out there. And you've done, I think, it's 3 now?
No, this is actually my 5th book, which is crazy.
Book? Oh, yeah, the poetry book too. Yes, sorry. Yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
So tell us about you.
Yeah, well, I always say it starts with a dream, starts with an idea. I had this idea when I was 18, actually, of putting my poems into a book. So poems or journaling and writing always are what made me kind of grounded. As you know, I grew up in a not good environment. So lots of trauma, lots of things that throw my way, lots of challenges. And writing was the one thing that kept me centered and kept me probably on this earth, to be honest. And I would just find ways to put that into my journals. But I remember actually being in Ontario, and I have the worst writing. I have doctor writing. It's so bad. And I actually took, it's the worst. You can tell anybody's ever worked with me.
Session notes, I have to actually focus on not just because I will write a line. That line does mean something. I swear to God, in the moment it means everything.
Yeah, same. And I think, well, I'm going to know what that means later on, maybe. But
I don't. Seriously.
No. But I went through a bunch of my journals through when I was younger. I put them into one special journal, and I hand wrote them all out and say, one day I want to put this into a book. And that was probably in, 1990, let's say. Anyway, so years later, I'm actually working at a restaurant and chatting with the customers, chat with my customers. And I was talking about this idea that I wanted to put my poems into a book. I mean, this is 2005, probably. Mm-hmm. So years later, turns out her sister's a publisher and publishes local authors.
Wait a minute. Let's just enjoy the synchronicity of that.
Well, I love how I think God just puts people in your life. And I'm a big believer, as you know, just speaking things out, because the words are power, and the world was created with a word, right? So I just feel like it was just such a crazy time. I literally was thinking about it. Anyway, so she's in my restaurant, and I'm like, oh, okay. So I took her card, took her information, sent her a bit of my poetry. I didn't know how to type at this point. Okay, bad writing, don't know how to type. And anyway, so she liked it. And so then I had to find somebody to transcribe my poems into legibility to typing. So one of my friends did that for me, and kind of fast forward about a year and to make that happen. But I actually have it here because I think it's so cool of where we began.
I have that book on my bookshelf. It is in Vernon here with me. Yes, and it's signed, just so we're clear.
Of course.
There's my little. And when I couldn't read, remember, you used to send me your drafts when I couldn't see, so that I could actually read the books. I know.
That's right.
That was actually, your book was one of the first books that I figured out how to read when I had lost my sight.
Wow. That's pretty awesome. Wow.
So,
well, you and I have been talking about writing, I think, for 10 years.
I know.
Because
God.
At least 10 years. Because you were working in the barn. No, 11 years. And I would come in the morning, we would talk about where we are in our books and our stories. And
I have chapter 1.
But I mean, everything takes time. It's all about that journey, right? But I literally cried when I got that. because not only was that a big accomplishment, but I have dysgraphia, which is a form of dyslexia. So I
Mhm,
don't see what you see. I see concepts, not so much sentences. So in order to put
mhm.
information onto paper and actually have it make sense and all that is a huge feat.
I mean, I can read a sentence and everything's there that I wrote.
Yeah.
It's not. It's not.
Yeah.
I'm missing
Yeah.
or I'm missing
Yeah.
this. And I'm like, oh no,
Yes.
I swear to God, it's there. So if I'm ever texting or writing people, I always tell people in my brain, the word is there. That's why I use like voice to text. It doesn't always
Same.
work out, or I have to really I cannot text on the fly because
Yeah.
it 9 times out of 10 it won't make sense. But I've learned. I used to be so embarrassed about that. Now I'm like, well, that gibberish means something, I swear to God. And it was really good. It was like insightful. It was on point. But that translation in my head, it sounds amazing.
It's
On
amazing. It's
paper, it
amazing.
didn't quite like translate. There's like this disconnect sometimes from paper to, my brain, which is fine because my brain goes way faster than I could type or write. So that's the problem. As
Same.
I'm
Same with me. Yeah.
20 steps ahead and I'm like,
Yeah.
why am I coming back here? Why do I need I'm already done. I've been here, got that t-shirt, have the handbag, and yeah. So
Well, we'll take that concept and put that into fiction. So even in the book
mhm.
I'm working on now, I know what I want to happen. Like I'm on, I think chapter 13, but I already know what chapter 20 is going to be about. But I somehow to bridge the gap, I can't just jump there, or
Mhm.
the reader's going to get lost. So it's really
Yeah.
tough to like really channel your. You have to really self
To stay
control in
put,
a
to
sense,
stay
right?
present. You're like,
It's
come
just
on,
like
let's go.
yeah, we have to like actually finish this concept, finish this before we move to the next. Otherwise, you're just gonna be like, what is she doing? Not everybody
Yeah.
reads books like I want to write them, right?
Right.
So,
Right. Why
um,
not, people? No, I'm just saying.
well, it's funny. In my I'm kind of fast forwarding a bit, but in my journey of my vampire trilogy, the second book, there's so much action in there. And one of my friends is like, "You just don't like to sit still, do you?" Like, even in my character, she's like, "I need a moment. I need to just be able to breathe." And I'd be typing along, and I'm like, "Oh, like something's gonna happen." I pushed somebing out of a car. I've killed off a character, regretted
Yeah.
it.
She doesn't like actually let people live out that. Yeah. I remember being very upset at certain points. I was like,
But it's so much fun. But I've literally gone into my room after writing a chapter, saying my husband, we're supposed to be going. I'm like, I can't go. I just killed off the main character. I got to figure out a way to bring them back. I'm like, I need about half an hour. I got to figure this out. And of course, they're vampires, so they can do that, right? Kind of like a
well,
soap
I
opera
mean,
star, right? They're still going to come back 10 years later. You don't know how. But
see,
like
that's
I
a little
said,
foreshadow right there, people, for when you get to read the books. Don't think everybody is gone. I mean,
yeah,
I don't know about you guys, but I get really in the moment. When I'm reading a book, I'm in that book. Like we talked about
mm,
this on Wednesday about, we did the can you be hypnotized test and talking about, if somebody says, imagine sucking on a lemon, I actually feel like, even now, I can't even say it now.
I know. I
I'm
now
like,
I've got the lemon.
exactly. And so when I'm reading a book, I am like that. I am like in there. I'm like totally immersed in that moment or moments. So when you kill off main characters,
Sorry,
my eyes
sorry,
sometimes leak and I don't
sorry,
know why. I'm
sorry,
just
not
saying.
sorry.
I know you're not sorry because you want like a picture of me having like a moment where I'm like, people don't often get to see that. So your book of poems, like I've read all of them, and I unfortunately I get to follow Rebeckah on Facebook, and I get to see her daily poems that she puts out there. When you received that, when that was in your head, when that was a tangible thing, how did that inspire the next step? How did that like shift everything that you had believed prior to that book being in your hand?
I think it just let me believe like anything's possible. Like
Mm,
if I can do this, I can do whatever's next. And I didn't know I was going to do what I ended up doing, but I basically through that, I remember holding it and just like crying because I mean, it was such a dream. And even the back of the book, like it's so funny. Like my friend designed the cover. They needed something for the back of the book. I done like a 12-hour shift in the restaurant, and I still managed to come up with something to go in the back of the book. And like they really are poems of my youth. Like my poetry now is way better than it was then. Like these are poems, I think some of them were written like in 92, 1991. But I do like the fact that it encapsulates some of who I am and what I've gone through to be where I am today.
Told you the
So
dogs would
it's,
join
you know,
us, and they're
I
not
know
going to be quiet about it.
Pickles has been quiet
Yes.
right now. I'll take it.
Walker hurt his paw, so we've been keeping him quiet for like a week. And so he's now on protest. So when you guys all hear him growling and jumping around, then yiping, don't feel mad for him. He knows.
But the other thing I did through the poetry book is I realized I need to learn how to type because I don't have the time to wait for someone to transpose my stuff. So while that was happening, it's funny, all my ideas for books come through, like it's all inspiration, but it's always usually inconvenient. So
Please explain
actually,
that.
actually always inconvenient. So well, for the vampires, so literally I was in bed, like lights off, blankets on, and I was like, oh, my eyes are red. I'm like, oh, I don't feel great. My skin's so pale. I'm like, and my name's Victoria, and I'm definitely not a vampire. And I was like, okay. So I literally turned on the light by my bed. I'm like, well, I gotta write this down. And I hand wrote like the first 3 paragraphs. And so I always tell people that if an idea comes to you, or like there's that book called Magic, like there's literally
Mhm.
ideas and things all over the place. It's like those little like flowers or things that touch on you.
Yeah.
If you
Yeah.
don't take it and like absorb it and like own it, it's gonna go to the next person. So I often think if I hadn't woken up that day, that night, and actually wrote those first 2 paragraphs, I wouldn't have written those books. Like maybe that idea would have
Mhm.
just gone. But instead, I was like, oh, okay. And then the next day, as I'm at work, I'm like, oh, this could happen, that could happen. And I literally went from like handwriting those first 2 paragraphs to I got myself an iPad with a little keyboard and just started learning how to touch type.
Yeah.
And now I'm a lot faster. I'm still not super fast, but who cares? But I can now
Nobody's
channel
timing
my
you but you.
exactly. But also I was worried that the creative energy I had through the pen wouldn't translate to the keyboard because I'd always been a pen person.
Yeah,
But
I totally get that.
I was able to train my creative brain to the keyboard. And now I can keyboard like crazy and it still keeps going. There'll still be times where it's with the pen or something. Usually it's on my phone now. I have an app called Pages. So if I'll come up with an idea, I'll just like voice to text it in my Pages or something so I don't forget it. But I was literally, as that book started, I was at work, busy Friday night, all this stuff's happening. One of my waitresses comes in. She's got this beautiful black hair, this like pale skin, red lips. I looked at her. I'm like, your name is Raven. Oh my goodness. And you're this character in the book. I'm like, guys, I'll be right back. So I literally ran to the office. I character sketched her out. And, you know, the next day as I'm writing, sure enough, she became a lead character in the book. But again, inconvenient.
Mine are always in the car when I'm driving. I have the
That
best insight in the car. That is my jam. I need to like actually, and I've been saying this in the last couple, especially when I'm driving from Vernon to the coast because there's a 4.5 hour drive there,
yeah.
and I get a lot of my like I start to like think about like for me a lot of my creativity comes through my work and how to
Mhm.
shift things, how to make things better, how to evolve things. And so I've thought about just recording my entire drive so that because I'm on the highway, I can't,
Yeah.
pulling over. And as much as I like, I'm a confident person, I don't always enjoy the people on the side of the highway or at the rest stops. So
Yeah.
I don't stop because unless I have a dog with me. But yeah, so it's funny how, you're at work and I'm in the car. I'm like, oh my God. And so I sit there and I repeat it over and over and over and over and over and
Tell
over again
Siri.
until it's totally, yeah,
I'll
maybe.
text
Oh, I
myself. Yeah.
haven't even thought about that. Look at
Yeah.
that. See, no solutions.
Because they literally pop up. Okay. Funny enough. So I was picking up a pizza like yesterday and I was in the shop again. My work is crazy. So my administrative brain is what gets like used all day long, not my creative brain generally. So all day long, I'm like numbers, emails, people, da 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 da. I'm literally picking up pizza. Long day, I'm exhausted. Well, our friend Kat posts a picture of her daughter and uses one phrase that she uses. I'm like, that's a poem. So I'm waiting for my pizza. I'm sitting there anyways. Throw a picture on Facebook, get the title, start writing, and then they're like, "Oh, your order's ready." I'm like, "Just a minute, I gotta finish a poem." And so I'm literally finishing the poem. Can't leave the
Yeah.
store till the poem's done. I'm like, "Okay, I'm done." "Okay, thanks so much. Sorry, I just was writing something." But like,
I love the fact
5
that you do
minutes.
that though.
I had
That's
so much fun. It's so much fun. Like I literally want to do a contest because I think I could win. Because yeah, it's just you take
I
that
don't
moment,
doubt it. I don't doubt
right?
it. I
You
have
take
no
that
doubts
moment.
actually when it comes to it's funny. I'm gonna tell you this, and I always want to put award-winning author in front of you. Like I
I'll
really
take it.
struggled when I
Taking
was
it.
like, okay, you know what? And so I don't know if it's a foreshadow of what's
It's gonna
coming,
come.
but I
It's gonna
gotta
come.
tell you, I was writing out the description for today's live, and I kept writing it, and I'm like, hey, you know, Jen, you can't be, you gotta be,
Take it. Take it.
I know, right? But I'm telling you, I can't, it was like on point. Every time I thought about the show today, every time I wrote about the show today, that award. So I don't know if they're telling me something, but
Yeah.
there you
Well,
go.
that's one of my dreams. So, and I said to Ian,
Yeah, see?
yeah, it's one of my dreams. My husband who finished my book. It's the first book of mine he's actually finished. And it was quite funny because he's a character in there. And hearing him like get mad at the other people in the book, and then was like, I was like, this is good. He's like, and I was telling him about the second book. He's like, what do you mean this doesn't happen? What do you mean those people? What do you mean? I'm like, okay, just read the first book and then I'll let you in on the second book. And but it was just for him to get emotionally involved in the
Mhm.
characters. And he's not really a reader. I was like, okay. I'm like, I think this is the book. I think this is the one that's gonna like get me that next step. So, anyways, yeah, it's I am throwing it out there. I've actually entered it into a contest. Um, so we'll see how that goes.
And those
And
results come in June, right?
yeah, June. Yeah,
All
yeah, the
right.
independent
Well, we're
one.
gonna have Rebecca back on the show because she's gonna be like,
Yeah,
"Hey guys, guess what? Jen's
it's
title
not.
works."
Well, I think, and again, my ADHD brain. But as you well know, I had a vision for another one of my books, and in that vision, there's that sticker just saying it's winning, going to win something. And I don't know what it is, but there's a sticker on there, best something on that book. So I know it's going to happen, but we'll see. See,
It's pretty awesome. So
yeah,
now
it's
when
pretty fun.
when you're writing books, from the first book, your book of poetry, to the last book that you wrote, how has that changed for you? Like how has it changed internally when you
Oh
start
well,
to get into flow versus when you began your flow?
I think I think anything that you tap into, whether it's writing, speaking, or any of those things, if you're always kind of, it might sound whatever flaky, but kind of your conscious and your unconscious mind, because you're okay. I am the right audience.
Yeah. Come on,
Because
girl. You know me.
because your brain is constantly creating and constantly tapping into the flow, so you can just pick it up. Like if all of a sudden I didn't have anything to do for an hour and I got time to write, I could just sit down, throw my iPod, like my music, and write. Whereas I probably couldn't have done that 5 years ago. But because you're doing it so much, you're using that part of your brain. It's like a jogger. If you just pick up and jog, it's like that same thing. You're training all the time. The cool thing is because I write poetry, I write inspirational, and I write vampires. Depending on what kind of mood I'm in, I can delve
Mhm.
into. So poetry, like if I feel like I'm suffocating or I feel like work is too much, I'll just write a poem. It's like, okay, I can breathe again. So to write is to breathe for me. And that's why I'm always doing it, because I need to breathe and I need to be inspired. And then that gives me
On her
that flow.
horse too.
100%, 100%, like 100,000%. And speaking of inconvenient things, again, one day I was hosing Mia, and she was hurt in the wash stall. And all of a sudden, the first two lines, what always happens for me is the first two lines come to me, and then everything else
Mhm.
comes after. Like the first two, and generally, I never used to rhyme. Like 20 years ago, nothing of mine rhymed. 5 years ago, something shifted, and now I always rhyme. And I don't even know how to stop it. That's just what I do now. But I'm literally in the wash stall with a hose. I'm like, well, I gotta write this. So I could move the hose around. She's good. Grab my phone, text the first two lines into the thing so I don't lose it. I'm like, I can edit later. But yeah, that was awkward. But
Well, for
again,
those
you're
of you
always
who
in the
don't know
flow.
who Mia is her
Horse.
first horse.
Yeah, it's my first horse.
And yeah, it's a
Who's
big part of Rebecca's
she's from my
healing
old
and
book.
self-evolution growth process. So
There she
there's Miss
is.
Mia,
There's Miss Mia. It's my book, my new book.
who is actually half sisters to my old horse, Ike, who he's passed on, but they are very much similar in their own ways, except she brings a soft feminine side versus
Yeah.
Ike's like, hey, look at me side.
Exactly.
So
But I
you
think
talked
also,
about,
go,
go ahead. Sorry.
well, I think also like when it comes to the writing, I think once you start to, well, what I always tell people, if any of you out there want to write, you're going to stink at the beginning. Like you're going to stink. There's no other way about it. You can't do anything. Maybe you can. I can't. Usually, even the first time you make coffee, it probably doesn't taste very good. But if you're like me, you've been drinking coffee for 20 years, my coffee is dang good, right?
It is.
At
She
the beginning,
makes
it
her
was probably
coffee when I'm at the
Nescafe.
farm.
Yeah, and now it's like Starbucks espresso with a little bit of mocha in it. It's like good, it's fancy. The same thing with writing. But I would say, like, don't just give up because it stings. Like, just, especially if you're writing a book and you've got an idea. Basically, if a dream of yours is to write a book and you start and it gives you energy and you feel good and you want excited, then pursue it. If you start and like, and it just doesn't give you energy, that's fine. Not everybody's supposed to write a book. You might just think it's a good idea. I think running marathons are fun. I'd never want to do it. If artists are training, that's not what I want to do. I got it, no problem. But I'll congratulate you who are. Good job, go. But it's not for me. It's the same with the books. Don't think as people writing books, you got to write a book. But it needs to energize and inspire you. So anytime I'm writing, I always feel like I'm inspired. I'm energized. I feel like I'm tapped into part of me that I can like give more out now because I've been writing. And like I said, the nice thing is with writing different genres. Not everybody can do that at the same time. Like I said, I can. I have about 6 projects on the go as we speak. But it taps into different parts of your brain and your creativity, which is like which is super, super amazing. So, I love telling writers verbal diarrhea. Just write,
Oh,
write,
yeah.
write, write. Don't go back and read it. Just
Oh,
keep
that's
writing.
the worst. Like that is actually
The
what gets me
worst.
stalled like nobody's business. It's why actually
Right.
this podcast is my book in its own way. I've been creating the chapters through the topics on the podcast.
Amazing.
And that
Oh,
way
I
I
love
can just
that.
transfer. I know the
Right. It's
secret
so
here.
good.
This
Yeah.
is it. Like, yeah, and that's how I decided because I can verbal diarrhea like this all day
Yeah.
long. Like I didn't
Yeah.
realize I was going to be good at this and enjoyed it. This is where I get like pumped.
Yeah.
And I totally give Shipwreck all of the credit for that because she's the one who got me on her show and was like, "No, I got you. You can do this. You'll be great." And then the evolution of that, how it's come. But yeah, this is how I plan to write the book is actually through the podcast.
Amazing. I love it. I
Right?
love it. I love it. Yeah.
Because that
That is
verbal
awesome.
diarrhea can happen and you
Yeah.
get those little inklings of, oh my God, that was really like that was the moment. That's what I wanted to say.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And even my first book, like by chapter 28, the plot was good. I was like, oh, so I'm invested. So now things are happening. Well, I went back and I didn't even tell you what color the mother's hair was. Like there was no descriptions. It was all action. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, this stank. Like I had to rewrite the first 10 chapters probably 5 times because again, with writing, you become better. So I'm actually excited because right now it's been about 10 years since Victoria came out. I'm going back to re-edit it. I've wanted to do this forever because I'm a better writer now. And my mother didn't edit the first book, and you can tell she's a teacher and she's good at that. So instead of ordering more of the same, because I'm out of copies, so instead of doing the same thing, I'm like, I'm going to re-edit, do like a 10-year anniversary thing. It'll be a smaller book, right? And it'll be better. And it'll be more consistent with my style that I currently have. Because so before I go to bed at night, talk about where you find time to write. Before I go to bed at night, I'm reading that and editing it before I go to bed. So I might do 5 pages in one night, but I'm at about 100. There's 460 pages. I'm at 140. So I got a ways to go, but I have no timeline.
That's okay.
So,
that's okay. That's pretty awesome. I love that. I can't wait to have that one on my bookshelf.
Right? It's going to be good because it's going to be like the story with the innocence and everything, but tightened up with all the fluff gone. So it'll be good.
Perfect. So you talked about getting in your groove, about putting on your headphones and listening to music. Do you have like a routine that really kind of gets you into your creative flow?
Yeah, so for like the Fallen Petals, because I'm working on the sequel to that. I usually do classical. So I like piano. I realize I love piano, violin, cello. I love things I can't that don't make me think of things in my life. And
Mm-hmm.
there's some great. I have Spotify, some great. Just I just put classical, mix, and go. A lot of the soundtracks and stuff like that. So that kind of gets me. And if the piano's fast, then my creative brain kind of goes faster. So I kind of like up tempo, nothing that's going to be too
Mm-hmm.
relaxing. And it's on point, on brand.
It's
And that kind of
perfect.
gets me, yeah, gets me going. It's funny. Twice Bitten. So my second vampire book, the soundtrack was Taylor Swift's Red CD. So
Mm-hmm.
James Dean song, kind of edgy. So whenever the bad male character would come on site, I'd be like, or I'd be listening to her stuff like, oh, he'd have to show up. Like it's kind of like that sexy kind of bad boy vibe, and
Yeah,
that would bring out those characters.
I
And so when
love
I
that.
don't, yeah, when I'm doing vampires, I like indie rock, but indie that I like Florence and the Machine.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, she just like I could throw her on and just like write vampires all day long. But that's her edge to it, right? So it's definitely
Yeah.
a soundtrack for every book. If I'm doing work, like I'm doing like a schedule or something, I throw on 80s music or something that's like distracting enough, but not that distracting. But I like it stuff that I can't relate to. So it's like stuff I don't normally listen to. I don't know the words. I just keeps me focused because usually my husband's like maybe he's got his phone on or maybe he's in the room and just shuts out all the other distractions. Or in a coffee shop, again, I kind of want people watch what's everybody doing, put headphones on. Again, ADHD works for me. I
I love people watching. It's
know it's
awesome.
so fun, but not when you're trying to write a book.
No, not
Um,
at all. Not when you're
and
trying to focus at all. Because
no, just throw the headphones in and then you can just like zone and do it. But yeah, and sometimes if I don't know what I want to write, I'll just throw on Spotify music and see what happens. I'm like, oh, all right, try that. Or I might kind of hang out with the vampires for a bit and don't know what's going to happen next. So I'll leave that and then I'll shift over to a different book. But
it's
because there's
awesome.
always like edge happening over there, right? It's always like gripping stuff. But yeah, it's like a whole world. Like you say, you immerse when you're reading. I immerse when I'm writing, and
Mm-hmm.
so I can touch and feel the characters and sense the smells and all that stuff around me when I'm in the story, which is pretty
I
cool.
love that.
Yeah,
I
it's really
love that.
fun.
And talk about tell us about your Petals book.
Yeah,
We talked about the
so
vampires, but we haven't really touched on that
I
except for showing
know,
us Mia.
and this is
Tell us
like
about.
so this is a love story to my barn. It's a love story to the people and my horse. Horses for me. So horses as a child saved my life. I would say if it wasn't for a horse, I wouldn't be on this earth. Basically, it saved me as a kid. And then as an adult, I always really wanted to have children, and I didn't get to have children. I was sad a lot of the time. And so I was 38. My husband one day is like, "Why don't you do this thing you love? Why don't you sign up for lessons horseback riding?" I was like, "Okay." So I signed up for like 4 lessons, and basically, I didn't realize my heart was broken till I got horses back in my life. And meeting Mia, my horse, was life changing. It was one of those moments where, again, as an adult, I never thought I'd have a horse. And my coach introduced her to me, and it wasn't love at first sight. First, she did try to kill me in the stall, sort of thing. So it was definitely like, get out of my
See
space.
a little bit of like right there, people.
Yeah. I think
This is how we
I
know
had to
people
ask
were
him to help
related.
me get her out of the stall. I'm like, this is the horse you want me to ride? She doesn't even like me. But then I got on her, and somebody taking a photo of the two of us, and I saw the picture, and I was like, that's my horse. She's mine. And Kat told me kind of, she's like, oh, she's for sale, not actively, but she's for sale. And sure enough, 3 months later, I bought her. But during that time, I was actually gardening at my house. I was pruning rose bushes, and I thought, oh, fallen petals. Like, that's a good name for a poem. Talk about inconvenient. Gloves on, dirt. I was like, I said to my husband, I'll be right back. So I went inside, wrote a poem, came back out, trimming things, digging the dirt and everything. I was like, fallen petals. I'm like, oh, the girl's name is Rose. She runs away from home. She's going to change her name to Rain. She's in a bad home life. I'm like, oh. So again, here I'm gardening. I'm like, hey, honey, I'll be right back. Run inside. run inside, sketch the character. And then I didn't know that I was going to say, so Rose's story is a lot of my story. It's fiction, but it's based on a lot of events and emotions that have come through my life. And I didn't know it was going to be that story. All I knew was her name was Rose and she's going to be at the barn. And then as I started to develop the character, I realized, oh, this is basically me when I was younger. Again, the timelines, people who know me, like the timelines, I was not 18 when I met Ian, but I, again, took advantage. I was going to just do fiction. And as I went through the editing process, I thought, you know what? I'm based on a true story. I can still sell it in the fiction category. It's not a biography by any means, but it just allows people to kind of get to know me a little bit better. And hopefully I can help those who are facing situations I was in to see hope because they know it's truth. And I think the truth resonates through the characters, or I hope it does, but that's what I've been told.
It absolutely does.
But it's a 10-year process, like from inception. And again, in the beginning of the book, they don't have cell phones really. They have like they dial 411 for information to get a phone number. And I just go back, I'm like, nobody know what 411 is, right?
I know. There we go, guys. I totally know what 411 is.
But really, like, who uses that anymore, right? But I decided to keep it. I kept the language anyways. So I'm not going to keep it.
You have to keep it though. It's like that little bit of like, of our history, like growing up and the things that we went through. I mean, I remember the cell phones that the antenna hit you in the armpit when you had it on your waist. I used to laugh at those. I was like, how does anybody want one of those?
Yeah, and you break the cell phone. You break the antenna.
Oh yeah, you could run over that cell phone, that bad boy. You put the battery back on, and you're good to go. They don't make things
the cheese block.
Yeah,
but which is kind of fun. But and again, like you said, because I worked with you, and so you're in the book, and then all the staff. So it's very nostalgic. But again, like a 10-year process. How many times? So I think maybe that I literally did 3 books in the time I did 1 book. But I really feel like things happen for the timing is so crucial. And that's why it sounds so whatever, but you do have to trust the process. And you do have to trust the journey because things in my life had to happen before that book was able to be released. My stepmother's no longer on the earth. I've reconciled my father. So maybe all that had to happen before I could put that out. But again, 10 years from inception to in my hand. It took me a year for the editing process, even when I got the contract, but doesn't matter because it's here now. Rex reason, yeah.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
Yeah,
they absolutely do. What's funny is one of those when things happen and synchronicities kind of fall into place, and then you talk about the 10-year process, but the energy around that book has shifted, right? So when you put it out there, it comes with a different vibration. It has a different imprint upon it. So, and I gathered to say that was a big process on that release, that it could be released in the energy it is now versus the energy perhaps it would have been 10 years ago or 9 years ago after. So,
and I have to say, like, actually working with you, because really, even though the book was written before I started working with you, but the process of all the healing and the forgiveness and the letting go and the being safe in my space and in my body, all those things, I don't think could have been possible had I not done those sessions with you. And again, like I come from like a crazy background, but also struck like lots of like black and white, right, wrong, all those sort of things. So for me to kind of dip in and actually do that work with you, even for me, surprised myself, but it brought so much healing and new avenues. And we talk about the horses, and not to get off topic or on topic, but the last session I had with Jen. Okay, last session I had with you is like the fact that it was crazy. Like in inner sessions, my horses had never really been a part, and then in that last session, my horses were such a prevalent part in my journey, and it was just so crazy. And the incredible thing is, through that work and through like watching you on your channels and stuff, like said, I just spent this time with my mare yesterday, just giving her a massage, just being in her space, just being her like in her orbit, and it was just so healing for both of us. And like I said, I was scared she was going to be like fault on the way back to our paddock. She was so relaxed and so tired. And she's just like, I did that. Like, I've seen you do that. I've seen Sydney do that. But I'm like, I got to do that with her. And
Yeah.
I just felt so special and so, it's like such an honor to share that space with her and that she allowed me in. But yeah, she's just such a special, and anybody who reads the book, you'll know like, she's such a special part of my life. So had her for 11 years, and every day I feel like I just got her. Like I can't believe she's mine, and I've had her for 11 years, so I still feel that way. So
And now she has a little brother.
yeah, now she has a brother Brody, and they definitely know their family.
They do. Yeah. Well, he's a hijacker, that one. He's like, oh, you're working on my sister? Let me just help myself. Hilarious. And she totally lets him. She's like, oh, that's okay. You can have more. I'm like, no, you're getting worked on after. You'll have your own. No, I want it now. I want it now, Auntie Jen, now.
Horses and personality. And like, I actually know for the second book of this, I actually know what the cover is already. And talk about ideas. Again, I wasn't going to do a sequel. The book's done. And then my friend Kat was like, well, you could do this and this. So I'm literally brushing my teeth when she gave me the idea. While I'm brushing my teeth, washing my face, I'm like, crap. I again grab my phone, inconvenient. Again, text the whatever idea. I'm in bed. I'm like, I gotta turn the light on. I'm like, hey, honey, I gotta write. So throw my thing on, throw my iPad on. I ended up writing, I don't know, I think like 4 pages before I went to bed. I'm like, well, I guess I'm writing a sequel.
I guess so. It's happening.
Like I'm on chapter 12, I think, right now, which is crazy. But he'll be on the cover for the second cover. One.
Yeah. Cool. Well, yeah, I wouldn't. I'm not having that conversation with him if you don't include him on the cover, because it's just going to be. I'm like, I got nothing. You're on your own.
He gets the cover for the second book.
Somebody else can explain to Brody that he's not first child. Okay.
Oh my gosh. Seriously, horses are hilarious.
I know.
He definitely is the second child I wasn't expecting.
Yeah, well, you know what? It always happens that way. Yeah. I wasn't expecting Ike, Mia's half brother. I was like, nope. And everybody was like, yep. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to die.
Yeah.
I'm either going to die or I'm going to live. That was really, there was no other option. The in-between world didn't exist with that horse. Luckily, I'm still sitting here and we did amazing things. But
100%.
Some days I saw my life flash before my eyes more than I would ever fully admit to anybody. I think every time I got on that horse, I was like, well, have you made peace with God today? Have you made peace with the universe? Have you made peace with your life? Have you accomplished what you needed to accomplish? Because today it could end. You know what? All right. So if I'm going to go out, I'm going out doing something I love. I can accept that. And then I would ask him to go forward. And you know what?
I'm glad I'm not the only one. Okay. I thought, okay, I'm not the only one when it comes to some of these horses. Okay.
No, you're not at all.
Okay. Good to know.
So as we come to the end of the show, I just wonder if there's anything that you would like to leave all our listeners with, whether they're here today or they see the replay. Is there anything a little tip or trick or inspiration that you would like to leave them with?
It's going to sound maybe whatever, but I would say one of my mantras is dream big. Why not? Like, why not you? Like we're really all the same. Like, why not? Like, if I can do this. So I didn't start going to school really till grade 10. Like I was kept home from school. I raised my sister, and I had to teach myself how to write. I teach myself how to do lots of things. I didn't know what a semicolon was till about 10 years ago. Nor what commas really were for. I didn't know that there and there and there are 3 different spellings, again, till like the last 10 years. So if I can write 5 books, and if you want to write, it doesn't matter what you want to do, whether it's books, it doesn't have to be books. You want to sing a song, you want to go on stage, you want to start a business, you want to buy a horse, like it really doesn't matter. So, and dreams, I love that expression. There's no expiration date on dreams, because really, I dreaded my 40s when I turned 40. I just dreaded it. I was like, I don't know. I was in my head about it. And then I think I was 40 for about a month. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to be all I can be in 40s. I'm going to own it. So sure enough, bought my first horse, wrote my first book. Like I just decided to own it. So it's really like shifting your mindset and really like absorbing the fact that you can't do it. You're your biggest cheerleader and your biggest stopping point. So like really change around, cheer yourself on, speak it out there what you want. Like I say, I'm going to be a bestseller. I'm going to be a New York bestseller. My book, this book is going to be a movie. It's going to be a movie.
You know what's funny? I'm waiting for that. One of them.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I
I
want
would
my
like
vampire
all of them
movie.
to be the movie, but that's okay. That's just me.
You can be in. 100%.
I'm putting that out there. They could all become movies.
Well, yeah. So just but just keep, life's going to throw you 100 things and it's not going to be easy. But just along the way, find somebody who's going to be in your corner who will cheer you on. And sometimes when like my second book of this, my mother actually hated the first chapter of it. Like she hated it. And my mom's one of my biggest fans. And I had to actually okay, what am I going to do with that information? Okay, you know what? I'm going to put that over there because at the end of the day, I feel led to do this. I think this is going to be good. And she actually apologized for her reaction and realized it was not actually had anything to do with my book. So dream big. Why not you? You can do it. Just one foot, like she was saying, brick by brick, one foot in front of the other. Just get it down. You can do that. We're no different. The only difference with me and somebody else is I've just done it. But
you're on the other side of it, right? You know that the other side is possible. And that's one of my favorite sayings is the impossible is just one action in the impossible part. And that is actually what always inspires me because everything feels impossible before you do it. But it's only one action away from being done, really and truthfully. That action might have several steps, but it's still one action makes something possible. And it's how our world was, really created, how humanity is created. Everything that we have. A cell phone at one point was thought to be impossible. And then one action, one idea, one placement of one chip and everything works again. It works and now it's possible. So I love that though. Dream big. Why not me? And I'm going to be utilizing that a little bit because I think that's pretty incredible. So thank you for sharing that with us.
Well, thank you for allowing me to share the space.
Before we go, Rebecca, where can people purchase your book? Where can people find you? I mean, I put it in the comments, but can you just let everybody know where they could find your books and your writings and your inspirational stories and everything?
Yeah, just my website is RebeckahHassam.com. Super easy. I do spell my name differently. I did change the spelling of my name when I was 19 because it was boring. And we can't have that. And I think I'm about to order my second shipment books. I'm hoping I get to do a book signing at Greenhawk and Langley coming up, I'm hoping. But it's available e-reader, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, online. And add me on Facebook. I'll even I can write poems if you've lost a dog, if you have a new puppy, or you have something you want to encapsulate in words. I love doing that, and so feel free to find me on Facebook, just Rebeckah Hassam, or Instagram, and just I'd love to bring you along. Or if you want to do any of these things and you need somebody to push you, I would love to cheer you on. I can do practical and tell you what publishers I've used, what routes I've gone. Or I can just kick you in the pants and tell you to get it done. But if you tell me you have an idea and you want to get it done and you don't want somebody to tell you to do it, I'm the wrong person. You can ask Jen because I'll ask you every couple of years, how's the book coming? How's the book coming? So
she says every couple of years, but she means every time she talks to you.
Well, yeah, whatever. It depends how motivated.
But you know what? We're the same. It's all I do the same. I do, so I can't complain.
Yeah.
If you can dish it, you got to take it. That's my thing. If you're going to dish it, you got to take it with grace, right? And I love that. And I love the fact that you're willing to be that guy in people's journey to say, hey, are you there yet? What's going on with that? Because, maybe you're not there yet. But when you get there, you're like, oh, my God, that really helped inspire me get where I needed to go and enjoy that process. So,
yeah.
Thank you for being here. And I hope that, even if, June, you can come back and let's talk about everything because morning coffee. So cheers.
Coffee. Yeah, cheers.
I know. There it is. There's her coffee. So you guys, I know I was expecting a cat entrance. Actually, I'm just kind of surprised.
Yeah. Petals has actually been quiet.
Pickles was one of the barn cats that decided she was going home, going to live the lime life inside. And she's never looked back. Promise me. She was like my favorite barn cat. We used to snuggle every morning, and then she's like, "I'm going home with Rebecca now. Bye." And I'm like,
see y'all, suckers.
Yeah, I'm gonna go home. I'm gonna live upside down. I'm gonna have a cozy bed. I'm gonna be spoiled. I'm gonna have a tiara. because you know
Pretty
all of
much.
Rebecca's animals get spoiled like crazy. So, you guys, thank you for being here. Thank you for being about our well, thank you for having coffee with us. For those of you who joined the conversation, thank you so much for your insight, your comments, and we will be live again on Monday for Meditation Mondays. That'll be Monday next week on 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, which is 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We are working on the life force and the sacral energy and getting connected to that and understanding what your life force feels like in that chakra point. And every week we're going to be moving into the different chakras to really capture what your life force feels like, what your vibration and your frequency is emanating, and what you are attracting. So that's it for today. Have a wonderful weekend, guys. Enjoy your Friday, and we'll talk soon. Cheers.